Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fiat Proof podcast. This is Sylvia, and today I have Niko from Consensus Network with me, a publishing company that specializes in Bitcoin books. Thank you so much for being on, Niko, and welcome.
Thank you, Sylvia, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Do you read every single book that you publish yourself?
Oh no, I don't have time for that anymore. I transitioned to blind publishing a while ago.
Okay.
But luckily we have a lot of people who can read the books, so I don't have to read everything myself.
Yeah. So the reason you're here is because, well, we're friends. I know you in person. You have two boys who are being unschooled. So I would consider you a bit of a radical unschooler and also Bitcoin maximalist. Is that the right thing to say about you?
Yeah, it's close enough. I guess I classify more as a freedom maximalist, but
Hmm.
Bitcoin is a big part of it. That's certainly something that seems to be worth our attention right now. It's a good time to be learning about that, and it's the first time in human history when we have such a powerful tool for liberation. So of course it's a big part, but liberty and freedom is the core value that I support. Bitcoin is
Hmm.
just a big part of it.
It's true. It's very true. So freedom maximalist is a very good term because it includes every aspect of your life, I suppose, not just, Bitcoin or the educational part. But yeah, our family spend a lot of time together. I spend lots of time with your wife, Annie, and our kids are best friends. So your son's 9 years old and he's never gone to school. How come?
Um, Honestly, there's no reason for him to go to school. In fact, there's lots of reasons not to go to school. Well, of course, my personal experience with the school system was not so great. Maybe a lot of people, especially from the Bitcoiner scene, can relate when you sort of have different thoughts and can't really quite well fit in. At that time, of course, we didn't have internet and stuff, so it was much more difficult to find your tribe. But I did go pretty early onto the internet, like mid-90s, started finding my tribe. So it's kind of like this sweet spot of this generation called Xennials, which is between X generation and millennials, who
Mhm.
both experienced the world without internet and after internet, with being proficient in both.
Yeah.
So very soon after internet, I started realizing that I can choose my tribe. Like I don't have to, try to be the oddball and the square peg trying to fit in the round hole. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is go online and find your whatever it is that you're interested in, your niche, and you will find your friends and your family. And that's basically what I've been doing ever since mid-90s. And the Consensus Network is just the latest iteration of that to work together and do cool things with your tribe, I suppose.
Hmm. Yeah, and yeah, that's the same you want for your kids. Was there anything like with Annie at some point where you had to maybe explain you know, your thought process about schools and education, or was she always on board? Because I know her personally, and she is an amazing unschooling mom. She gives your boys so much freedom. She spends, all of her time with them. And I know you have your job, your company, your work, and still you are very, very freedom minded. But it's Annie who spends most of the time. But was there a time where you had to kind of explain a bit about unschooling or the freedom part of education to her?
Yeah, I guess in the beginning, especially before the boys were old enough to be even considered going to school, there wasn't really a problem before that. And then it just, I suppose, we naturally gravitated towards it. We did try a preschool for my older son for a while, which was fine. It's not that there's something terrible that is wrong with it per se. It's just complete waste of time because you can achieve much better results without it. So all this talk, like maybe if your kid gets unschooled, it's a common concern that they won't be fitting in with other kids and the society. But that's sort of also part of the whole point why you do that, because you want to them to fit in their society, not just this magical collectivist society that everybody's supposed to be part of. It's a society that you decide to be part of. So your friends and family, you make them all the same from your hobbies and your classes, and you can still learn from professional adults, even if they're not called teachers. In fact, everything is self-learning, whether it be government institution or just reading on by yourself, or getting education from your friends and family and your parents first and foremost. So really, what it is to provide opportunities for the kids and to be there to support them where they need you, and try to keep my own personal biases away from child rearing as best as I can, because we don't really know them. We're just, I guess our job loosely is to keep the kids alive until they're old enough to take care of themselves.
Totally. Yeah, it's absolutely my same point of view. I love that when people say that, then you really can see that the person gets it. Like, our job is to keep them alive. I love that. Yeah, the other day when I was at your place, you recommended a book to me, and Annie's going to give it to me once she's read it. Were there any other books you read along, like, since your kids have been born, or was it really just you going your own way and inventing unschooling for yourself?
That's pretty much how I go about it. Like, maybe it sounds, I don't mean to sound braggy or anything. It's just that, like, that's how I've always lived my life. Like, I just come up with a theory of my own, and then I sort of find backing to it if I need to convince somebody. I don't really care if there's backing to my theories. I just do it anyway because I think that it makes sense to me. And yeah, sometimes it's not the right theory, but it still matters more that you're living through truthfully to yourself than that you're upholding some kind of somebody else's truth. So it's much more important for me to be truthful and seek truth than to speak any specific truth. So wherever the seeking of truth might take us, I think we should follow. And I think homeschooling is a great example of the truth, and sometimes uncomfortable truths that arise from the daily life with your kids when you start to discover and realize who they are as human beings, and they might not be at all what you expected. And it's a tough situation to put your ego aside and to sort of grow into the mindset that something that is such a big part of you is something completely different and scary in a way. So I
Yeah.
understand the urge to outsource these difficult things, which it is. It is like every day I feel like, what if I'm not doing the right things, whatever is the right things, and I feel stressed about that. And you don't really ever know. I guess your kids will tell you at some point. Like,
What do you do in that moment, or those moments when you question yourself?
you just shoulder the responsibility and carry on another day. I mean, what else is there? It's always useful to talk to people, of course, who are in the similar situation, because it is tough. You sort of get this, like in this fiat world, you get this you get complacent because you have false sense of security. Somebody else is taken care of. You have this framework. You just play by the rules. You get your due, and it all seems like pretty good on paper. Just seems like it doesn't really work. It doesn't really maximize your liberty. More like enslaves you. Sometimes it even feels like it's the whole system is built to enslave people. But I think we know that the money and incentives play a big part in that. So I don't want to believe that people are actually just like that, and not wanting to save for future and not wanting to make sustainable choices. I just think that option has been taken off the hands of most people. Same thing with homeschooling. Really, it just has such an unfortunate stigma to it. Like there's something fundamentally wrong with that, and I'm well, I don't really try to convince people anymore. If they don't believe me, then you don't have to listen to what I have to say. But yeah, if people want to, and people are waking up to it. I mean, look at technology like AI, for example. Do you really think that you're going to get the best education about AI for the kids from the decades old educational institution that was not built for information age? There's no way. Like, there's no way you're going to get the best expertise. So it's also a responsibility thing for the parents, and a lot of parents are, I guess, in for a rude awakening because their kids learn nothing. They might have wasted decades of their lives already without ever discovering their true potential, and that is a shame. So, I mean, my question would be like, what do you have to lose, like, without trying this system? Like, I'm not saying homeschooling is for everybody. It certainly is not. And some people probably it's completely fine. This kind of like organized, more rhythmic way of living, but I don't think it's a freedom maximalist way to live. And I think that's fine also. I don't expect most people to be like that. Maybe it's not fine for a lot of people. But the whole key of libertarianism is to live and let live. So whatever way you want to live your life, I'm not going to make it my problem, and I just expect the same from others.
Yeah, I just think, as you say, that parents have a responsibility, and when you send your kids to a place where they don't want to go, and the kids would do so much better without schools, they would learn much better. I don't think there is a child that does do better at school or learns better at school than in like a more natural environment, like at home or, in a community, because I doubt there will be one person on this planet that would learn exactly the same things and the same hours and, as structured as the school provides it, as they do. So I think school is really just for children who are in a very abusive environment at home. That's like their escape. Yeah, but school doesn't save them from that either. So at some point they have to go home. They have to spend the afternoons, the mornings, the nights there. And there's something that the government needs to do about as well. But yeah, I really doubt that there are any children who would do better at school than outside, learning wise.
And that's the whole crux of the issue, isn't it? Like that's what Rothbard wrote in the book, Education Free and Compulsory, that all education is self-education. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I think that is correct to say that, similar way to as democracy. Like, people like to say that, okay, but this is the least worst system that we have. So this is the best we have. People love to say that. Same thing for schooling system, same thing for democracy. But maybe it shouldn't be that way. Maybe we should strive for excellence and not, to be the least worst at something, right? I mean, that's not how I want to live my life. So, I mean, if you think that this is the best education that you're going to get, and you don't trust yourself, then you're probably right. I mean, it is still a self-education, and I did learn stuff in school, and everybody learns stuff in school. That's not the point. The point is the broken window fallacy. What else could have you learned with the time that you now used self-learning in this institution, which you probably didn't even realize you were self-learning? It was always up to you. It was always your responsibility.
Right.
You'd somehow just outsourced it, and you got your degree, and it might not help you quite as much as you might have thought in the beginning when you made the investment. And a lot of people are going to be angry about that. Less highly educated people, more highly educated people, less jobs that you can make a living wage.
Yeah. When I was I pregnant with Lima, or was she already born? Like around 7 years ago, I watched this video. There was this PISA study, I think it's Europe-wide, that compared all the children's, scholar capabilities. They all had to do the same tests. and almost every school was really bad at it. All the kids were really bad. And one of the very few countries that changed something after that was Finland. So in Finland, the kids started later, like age-wise and time-wise, and they only were at school for a few hours, like 3-4 hours. And what they mainly did was play, be outside. And they still had the curriculum, and they still learned everything that all the other kids learned, but went way better. So they kind of did a mix of unschooling, like just freedom-based learning. And I really like that idea. I mean, that's like that was 7 years ago. I don't know when they introduced this, but did you see any of that in your school time, or how do you see the Finnish school system? Because I heard very good things about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, least worst, which is my pet peeve argument. You
Okay.
can make the case that Finland is the least worst socialism in the world, I guess, like the most successful socialism in the world. Congratulations. But that only works because it's such a limited population.
Okay.
However, yeah, the Finnish school is probably one of the better ones if you want to make that comparison. And the reason is just what you said, with the freedom of both schedule and the curriculum itself, like learning through play. I think that thought is definitely correct. Like it was a little bit more strict when I was still going. Like it was still heavily Christian and Bible oriented, by the way, like public education in Finland at that time. So we would actually learn from Bible and sing this religious songs as a part of the curriculum, which they don't do anymore, I believe. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk anything bad about the Finnish education. It's probably the best, one of the best. At least it used to be the best in the world. I don't know now. Like I hear that it's going worse with all these PISA results and stuff, and I don't really know why is that. But I suspect it's the modern, not modern, but rather information age that has simply outpaced everything else there is.
Yeah. And do you plan anything in the day for your kids or with your kids, or do you sometimes, try to get them out more, or less screen, or something, more reading? Is there anything that you think, your kids could do
I,
more or less of?
Yeah, I think about that every day. And what I noticed is as soon as I start to come up with anything resembling a curriculum, they are really good at picking up on it. So they feel like, okay, this is part of my chores, this is part of my work, this is not my choice of
Yeah.
action. If I had the free choice of action, which they don't, they're still in the staying alive part. So we do have to unfortunately trample on some of their fundamental liberties to keep them safe, to keep them from making fatal mistakes. And I guess the way I try to go about it is just to make sure that he understands that it is not okay, for example, to just watch YouTube videos, that we're not happy about that. So the incentive for him is not to let us down either. Like we don't
Yeah.
expect him to watch TV and play video games all the time. So he doesn't really. Like it rarely becomes even a problem. And when he does have the tools like the laptop, internet connection, he has a way to do his own art or develop his own t-shirt business, for example. Like I tried to give him ideas of how he could start a business and start to earn some money because he wants to buy candy or video games or whatever. There's a path to all of these, and I think these are the real good teachable moments. Just how to handle life. Like from a very early age, I taught him to handle himself in a restaurant, place his own order, or when we go to the shop, talk to the cashier and solve your own problem, scratch your own itch, like you need something, then how to communicate with people. And I think these kind of things are much much more valuable than just like, yeah, you need to show up and you need to read 2 hours. I mean, we do that sometimes as well, especially he's been learning Chinese now with Annie. And I teach him Finnish sometimes. So we do readings, but it's usually on their own pace. Like he's reading these Donald Duck comics, which he enjoys. And the same thing, like I'm teaching him AI whenever he wants to make something, like he wants to make a piece of art, but I can show him the path of how to get from where you are to where you want to be. So I think that's the best way I can define our role as parents and teachers. It's just a helpful guide on the way, food provider, and opportunity and insight provider as well.
Yeah.
More than anything, more than not really teacher, just not friend either, but a guide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very true. I mean, it's a very controversial topic, screens. And like our kids, your boy and my girl, they like to play Minecraft together. And for many years, I was very much torn between maximum freedom, but then she'd binge watch and binge play, and the technology. It should be it can't be too much. Like it's not good, all the blue light, and sometimes it gets into scrolling and binge watching. And just seeing these two, because Annie, your wife, went to China for 6 months with the boys, and then Lima and Niko, your son, they played very often Minecraft. They met, and I really learned there that Minecraft can be or is a lot about working together, it's communicating, it's socializing, it's building stuff together. And they continue now that he's back here in Madeira. They continue playing, either he's at yours and she's at mine, or they come together and there's another friend involved. And I can really see now that screen time is not all bad, but it's a really nice thing to see how they were, how they stayed in touch. They kept their friendship alive by meeting every day and having a chat, having a laugh, even arguing. Like she likes to destroy his buildings, blow them up, and he gets angry at her. And it's so sweet. Like it's I had to really learn this with time and through Minecraft with the kids playing together. So that's really cool. And then sometimes when they've played for like 3 hours, I do find, okay, maybe it's time now to go to the park or something. And luckily they do love going to the park. But like with the learning about, money and everything, what you mentioned, because Bo was just in here with me because she was very upset. She had €7 yesterday left over from her pocket money, and she wanted this stuffed unicorn, a stuffed animal, a unicorn, but it was like €20. So we went to the shop and I said, this is too much. And she chose, and I said, it's too much, too much. So she chose something for €6, brought it home, just something else, little figures to play with. And then Lima went out with Rob this morning, and when they came back, Lima had bought that stuffed animal for herself with her own pocket money. And Bo was super upset. And all I do is really just be there for her. I held her, she was sobbing and sobbing, and I wanted this unicorn. And she was seriously sad. It wasn't just like, I don't know. Sometimes when they cry, it's not really sadness, there's something else. But she was seriously upset. And she said, I want to buy it. I want to. And I said, how much money do you have left? Just bit by bit getting there, because I don't like to go in and find a solution for her or tell her what to do. So we came up with the idea that she could sell some of her toys, some of her stuffed animals, so that she can buy the one that she likes. And yeah, we might go to the park after this call, set up a blanket, put stuff there that she doesn't want anymore, and sell them. And it will be the first time that this happens for her. Lima was out like last month selling lemonade and cake in the park. not for, gather money for something specific, but she just had the idea and we did it. And this time with Bo, there's so much learning in there. Out of sadness and distress can come an amazing learning opportunity, where we'll see. I'll let everybody know afterwards how it went, if we did it. But that's the best way, when a child has an intrinsic motivation to do something or to have something, then I think a tiny bit of guidance is great, because they can learn from that.
And here's the thing, like, it's up to us to let the kids know that you can't get anything for free in life. Like, I'm really grateful for my parents, and of course the depression in the 90s in Finland helped with that, because nobody had any money. Everybody was broke. So I had to learn from very young age that if I wanted something, I had to work for it. So I had to make my own money to get a job. And I want to teach the same thing for the kids. Doesn't matter what do you do, as long as you solve a problem for another human being, you can get paid, and then you can use the money to get what it is that you want. So you make this trade with yourself, and then you can get whatever you want, and that's how the world works. And the earlier the kids learn it, the better. And I think entrepreneurship is by far the most important thing that you can teach your kid. Maybe after traveling, like well, but I think also traveling leads to entrepreneurship, with given enough time, because that's where your freedom maximalism seed is planted, and then you want more, and then you have to become an entrepreneur, because there's no other way for you to exist anymore.
Yes, totally. It would have been super easy for me just to, pull out 20 euros and buy her this stuffed animal, because we have enough money to buy her that. But it wouldn't have helped her in any way. And we're living in an age, I mean, now it's getting a bit more tricky to buy stuff as much as you want because of the inflation. But up until now, it was super easy to find cheap toys everywhere, whether in the shops or secondhand. It's so easy to just buy your children whatever they want, even if you mean it in a good way, like, oh, they could learn from this, oh, this is great for this and that. And but you can really overdo it, and you're teaching a child that, just my mom's going to give you, my dad's going to give me the money. So I think, like, for me, I've made a choice. I'm not going to buy my kids anything unless it's their birthday or a holiday. And even then, I've limited it. We specialize, or we specialize, we focus more on doing something together. And I've asked the friends of our kids to not give them lots of toys, like maybe 3 gifts from everyone or from a few, and the others bring vouchers or something to do something together. I like this saying, hard times create tough man, and tough man create good times, and good times create weak man, something like that. And we live in really good times. So the kids have it so easy, and especially the parents are, not just the parents, adults are so overprotective. Like, even people that we don't know, they look after our kids. Like, I'm, just let them run, let them do, let them climb, let them fall. And other people come and help and tell me and tell them and give them, like, they get bananas on the road, and they get fruit and all that stuff, which is nice. But it's such an overprotective age we live in. It's such an easy time for the kids. I think I don't have to make it hard for my kids. I'm not going to send them out, in the cold at night. Now you have to do this walk. You have to spend all night outside because it makes you tougher and makes you stronger. No, but don't make it easier for them either. Like, don't buy them all that stuff. Let them find a way. And that's, like you say, Niko, is entrepreneurship. It's the best lessons, and the earlier the better. Even Bo, with 4 years old, she's going to learn about this now, that she can't get what she wants because she cries. And if she wants something, she can work for it, either go out and sell her toys that she doesn't like anymore, or we'll find another way. Maybe they'll come up with another idea, with their own solution.
there is something to be said about it being easier. Like that's the classic thing that all older generations have always said about the younger
Right.
generation. It used to be better, right? Back in the good old days,
Yes.
you know, the kids are spoiled, yada yada. But there's a case to be made that it's actually way more difficult to be a kid right now. Like imagine it. Imagine the sheer amount of tracks you can take in life, like analysis paralysis. Like you have literally all the information ever
Yeah.
written at the fingertips. Like we never had that power before. You can, and I think that's a big, like a big source of creativity is limitations. Actually, when you're thrown into a dark cave naked, you have more, your optionality is limited on what your next action is going to be in order to survive. But when you have infinite paths to take every day of your life, you don't really have immediate threat of hunger or violence to survive. So then you start to think like, what else can you do? And a lot of people lose meaning because there is no direct impulse that you have to act in order to save your life. And that has been the case for most of human civilization. We've been way below the food chain, and that's only been at the very, very top where we are right now, where we managed to maneuver ourselves to a position that we can challenge any other living consciousness.
That's a very, very good point.
So yeah, I would argue that yeah, in a way you can say that it's easy for the kids because they have the optionality, but also it's much difficult to ascend to the, how would I say, more curated stairs of self-actualization.
Yes, that's true too. There's always a flip side, of the coin.
Yeah.
You can't have it all. Yeah, good points. Then I think about the principles that they will always apply. And that's why we like to focus on them.
And here's another thought that like people tend to think that cherry picking is usually it's used as a bad term, like you're cherry picking something, so you're just taking the best parts out of life. Why should not that be the default behavior on anything? Like why would you struggle to find the, the rotten cherries or the, empty calories in the cream only? Like you do want the cherries.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't you just take the best that life has offer and best of the tools and curate? And Bitcoin is a big part of that. Homeschooling is a big part of that. All these small things that are somehow connected that work, just take them to your life. Some people like religion. I'm not a big fan, but I understand the appeal. Just take whichever religion you feel like is correct for you and works for you. Whatever brings more, whatever it is that you're looking in life, just add it. Just cherry pick. And that's, I suppose, anybody who's thinking about homeschooling, that's the number one thing that you have to do. Be brave enough to be your own curriculum in everything, not just for your kids, but for every day of your life. Like you decide when you go to sleep, when you wake up, every second of the day, you decide every action that you take, and it better be in service of something that you believe in.
It's a bit like going just do the opposite of what mainstream does or thinks or says, because it's this society who's come up with all these rules and what should and should not be. And as you said, cherry picking is a more of a negative one. But like if I imagine it, it's what a great image of a child just being like a serene and looking at the whole picture and saying, okay, I'll do this, instead of going like, oh, what do I do? Or I want it all. It's really a good name, good example, good vision. I like that. And yeah, I mean, for me, it's been a big transformative journey for myself, having kids and doing unschooling and then going, with Bitcoin. It's, you know, felt and going through some big changes within myself. I do feel more serene and calm and more self-confident and all this. And that is another kind of gift for my children, because they will probably not have to go through what I went through, because I'm more on the cherry picky side now than on the running wild like a headless chicken. And that's a good thing. That's something, again, I want to mention that I think I mention every podcast. The work you do on yourself is like one of the most important things for your children. Of course, in the first instance, you do it for yourself, but then the world around you, the way you see it, the way you experience it will change as well. And the way you think about things, the way you judge people and things, that's the way your children will probably see the world. And the more you work you do on yourself, the less you will judge people and situations, and the less your children will come up with these belief systems, which is very relieving.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a child and you live all your life believing that men wear a certain kind of hat at a certain situation, that's your truth. That's what is normal to you, and it's not going to be second guessed by anybody. That's just tradition. But the problem with the tradition is that they become dogmas, and they can be extremely dangerous. And the religion is a prime example of how dogmas can be used to divide people and conquer. And I think we don't have such a strong religious dogma anymore in any religion. It's sort of like subsidized from the way of state religion, which is even more terrifying, because now we start to have generations of people who believe that there should be an elite class that is allowed to subjugate the majority under their will, because they somehow magically know the greater good. And this is state religion, and this is the most dangerous, in my opinion, of the religious dogmas that you can adopt, because there is no greater good. It's just only misery through average, and that's communism. And that's where these weak systems like democracy inevitably leads to, because you're going to ask opinions of people who, first of all, do not understand the matter at hand, and second of all, they don't really even care to understand it. So the opinion of people like that is completely worthless, as Marcus Aurelius said, that opinion of 10,000 men who don't know what they're talking about is worthless. So we arrived to this weak system because of the strong men who created something comfortable and luxurious. And now we think that we cracked the code of universe, as we always do. And this is how humanity goes from boom to bust. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't seem to ever change. We come up with the same silly idea of infinite growth, and then it fails miserably. And I guess it remains to be seen if Bitcoin can change that formula at all. In theory, it could. But still, I would argue that freedom is simply a mindset. You either have it or you don't. It's polar. You cannot be a little bit free. You can be a little bit slave, or you can be a lot slave, but you cannot be a little bit free. You're either free or you're not free.
Yes, Fiat proof all the way. Very nice. I like that. And I think that is something that's very valuable to me to be able to pass on to the unschooling listeners who are not so, Bitcoin knowledgeable, because you explain something that does involve them, because it's part of their life. And they certainly don't want the government, controlling what they do, what their kids do. And you connected it nicely to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin will probably, hopefully, solve this.
Well, I mean, a lot of people and I'm not much of a Bitcoin evangelist anymore. Like, I don't want to sell it to people. I don't even care that much about Bitcoin. Like, maybe it will fail. The underlying idea is freedom. Like, whatever is going to enable you to be more free, to save your energy for later, to take care of your family, I will always go for that. Like, I'll always take that bet, because there is no higher state of being than being sovereign. And that is everything for me. And especially after having kids, it's just completely became clear, and there is no alternative. There is no way to live less free. It's all or nothing. Of course, we have to make some kind of, like, we still live in, you know, the fiat world, so we do make adjustments and compromises where we must. But I think the direction is pretty good. The information age tools are quite powerful. We are able to build communities like this. Even the Madeira community runs a lot online, even though the local community is great. And Madeira is also a nice example of like-minded people catching the wind and sort of like growing together. So I think that's really bullish. Like, if you're feeling uncertain about the future or stressed, I think the best way to do is to surround yourself with some freedom maximalists, some freedom loving people, and just help yourself and you know, craft your own existence and stop trying to fit into something that you maybe not even that welcome to after all. Like,
yeah, people in our society are pretty judgmental. Like, you're either in or out. You're very, if you don't tick all the boxes, that can be very harsh. It's true. And yeah, I really like how you summed it all up. It was a great summary, what you just said, to round this podcast episode up. Thank you so much, Niko, for being on the Fiat Proof podcast. I hope everyone enjoyed it. If you have further questions, then just leave a comment below wherever you read it, on the blog or on YouTube or on the podcast platform. And I'm sure Niko will be happy to answer them, because you're a brain worth picking.
thank you, Silvia. My pleasure.
Thank you, Niko, for being here. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.